Good evening. I'd like to call the October 19, 2020 meeting of the Greenville City Council to order. I'm Mayor P.J. Connolly, and I'll be moderating tonight's meeting. First, I would like to call on Councilmember Litchfield for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember Litchfield.
Please bow your heads. As we gather to make decisions for our community, may we only use our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and fellow citizens. We ask you provide wisdom and guidance to our city staff, and we lift up the safety and well-being of our first responders as they put their lives at risk every day for the safety of our community. In your name, amen.
Amen. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Am I muted?
Literally.
Mayor Connolly?
Here.
All right. Mayor Pro Tem Glover? I think you're muted, Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem Glover?
Here.
Councilmember Daniels?
Present.
Councilmember Bell?
Here.
Okay. Councilmember Smiley?
Here.
Councilmember Litchfield?
Present.
Councilmember Meyerhofer?
I am here.
Okay. Mayor Connolly, we have a quorum.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the approval of tonight's agenda. Madam Manager, any recommended changes?
Yes, Mayor, I would request that the council remove item number 11, which is the lease for the Green Street lot, the lease to GUC for a lot on Green Street. So if you'll just remove item 11. Other than that, it stands as prepared.
Members of council, are there any other recommended changes?
Move to approve the revised agenda. This is Meyer.
All right. Motion been made by Councilmember Meyerhofer, second by Councilmember Bell. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. I'll now call on the city clerk for the vote.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Glover?
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels?
Aye.
Councilmember Bell?
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley?
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield?
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer?
Aye.
Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
Thank you very much. Now move on to the public comment period. The public comment period is a period reserved for comments by the public. Items that were or scheduled to be the subject of a public hearing conducted at this meeting or another meeting during the same week shall not be discussed. A total of 30 minutes is allocated, with each individual being allowed no more than 3 minutes. Individuals who registered with the city clerk to speak will speak in the order registered until the allotted 30 minutes expires. If time remains after all persons who have registered have spoken, individuals who did not register will have an opportunity to speak until the allotted 30 minutes expires. Madam Clerk, our first speaker.
Okay. First speaker we have is Ms. Aisha Powell. Ms. Powell, if you'll unmute, you have 3 minutes to address the City Council. Ms. Powell, if you'd like to unmute, you have 3 minutes to address the City Council.
Is there a way to unmute her?
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that. I was having some technical difficulties. Yes, hello, Mayor and City Council. I'm here to comment on the mural, the Black Lives Matter mural, and my support of that. I actually sent my comment over, so I'm just going to pull that with the email. All right. So again, my name is Aisha Powell, and I am in favor of the Black Lives Do Matter mural. I believe this creative expression will bring a sense of community that will show the city's commitment to diversity, inclusion, and safety. When we look back at the year 2020 and all of its travesties, it will be great to say that we provided our local artists an opportunity to create a meaningful mural in our public space. I believe this symbolic action will create an opportunity for local artists, a sense of belonging, and further the discussion about race and social justice here in Greenville, North Carolina. We have had an opportunity to see our ECU students protest, holding signs, people in our community, but it's not a space that we can go back to have these discussions. So I think this will be a great opportunity for our city to show our commitment and support of this mural. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Powell. Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Okay. The next speaker that we have on the list is Mr. Jerry McRoy. Mr. McRoy, if you want to unmute, you have 3 minutes to address the City Council.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
sir.
can.
Okay, good. I'll go through my computer then instead of calling on the phone. My name is...
I think we lost him.
Oh.
Did we lose him?
It looks like he's still in here. I'm going to ask him to unmute. Mr. McRoy,
Yep.
can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Now we can, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Jerry McRoy. I'm a Greenville City resident, and I heard comments earlier from Mr. Rick Smiley saying no one had any passion that called him, so I'm about to add my passion to this issue. I was notified by a friend this morning that the Greenville City Council is planning, I'm setting a timer here, a vote this evening on the Black Lives Matter mural to be painted on a city street. I know this proposal came up a couple of months ago, not as a city council item, but as an informal plan approved without authorization by the city manager. The plan did not advance at that point. I ask as a city resident that this proposal, painting the BLM mural on City Street, be rejected. Ever since the George Floyd incident in Minnesota, back in May of this year, racial tensions in the United States have exponentially increased. It is extremely unfortunate that the incident occurred. A man's life was ended way too early, and the event was just so very unnecessary. But as horrible as that incident was, it does not justify the violence that has followed. Innocent people on the street, law enforcement officers doing their job, have been injured or killed. Businesses that had absolutely nothing to do with the event have been robbed, looted, burned, and the question is, why? Violence begets more violence every single time. If you authorize the painting of a BLM mural on one of our city streets, you are adding to the racial tension. Such acts only prove one thing. You are willing to put the politics of your office ahead of the welfare of the community you serve. Many politicians, even at the local level, seem to be driven by the current social winds, not by sound judgment or moral convictions. Please don't be those politicians. Communities that have painted such racially charged statements on their buildings or streets have done nothing to help mend the racial fabric of their community. Indeed, they have added fuel to the fires of racial tensions. While it is certainly true that Black Lives Matter, it is equally true that all lives matter, even those of unborn, innocent unborns. The fact that our news channels are filled every day with horrible acts of violence, people hating, injuring, killing other people is appalling. Perpetrators seem totally desensitized to the value of life, adding to the fires of racial tensions by elevating one racial group above all others will not help the current situation. There are various meanings of racism, but here is one. Prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people of a particular membership-based group based on their membership of a racial or ethnic group. I'm sorry, I'm trying to hurry up, and I think I'm stumbling on myself here. So basically, painting a BLM mural on the city street shows that our city's elected officials think it is acceptable to be prejudiced against discriminate against, or antagonize anyone who is not black. Elevating one race above all others.
Mr. McCroy,
is not-
I'm so sorry, but that's time.
Thank you, Mr. McCroy. Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Okay, the next registered speaker that we have on the list, I do not see him in the room, but I will call his name. It's Mr. Thomas McKinney. Mr. Thomas McKinney, if you are in the room, I would ask that you unmute. You have 3 minutes to address the City Council. Mr. Mayor, I do not see him in the room. We could go on maybe to the next speaker.
All right.
And then
Yeah.
circle back.
If he comes back up, we can go back to him.
Okay. The next speaker that I have is Ms. Tamila Wiggins. Ms. Wiggins, if you'd like to unmute, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Tamila Wiggins, and thank you guys for allowing us to speak on the Black Lives Matter mural. Okay. I'm in support of the mayor and the whole city council. I am an African American person, and I love Greenville. I grew up here. I know the mayor, he supports our city being inclusive. Okay, I may not agree with the Black Lives Matter being put on the street, but I do agree with all lives matter being put on our street to show that we are an inclusive city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wiggins. We appreciate it. Madam Clerk, our next speaker.
Okay, I'm going to check one more time, but I do not think we have any additional speakers. No, sir, we do not have any additional registered speakers, and I will check the inbox one time. And I just want to note that any messages that we received prior to this meeting were forwarded out to the mayor and city council. And no, sir, we do not have any additional messages. I will just note that there is one message in here from Ms. Aisha Powell, but she has already addressed the city council during public comment.
Okay. And we don't see Mr. McKinney in here?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. We'll end the public comment period there, and we'll move on to appointments. Madam Clerk?
Okay. First board is the Historic Preservation Commission. Councilmember Daniels.
I'm going to continue that. I do have someone, but I'm waiting on their talent.
Okay.
Application.
Yes, ma'am. Human Relations Council, Mayor Pro Tem Rose Glover. Oh, you're muted.
I want to appoint all the ones who are eligible to be reappointed to the Greenville City Council.
Okay.
I'm sorry, to the council, the Human Relations Council.
Yes, ma'am. All right. And I don't think we've got anybody just right now that is eligible. We do have like one seat for PCC, but it looks like that's vacant right now. So we can look at next month if you'd like.
Okay.
All right. Pitt Greenville Convention and Visitors Authority, Councilmember Meyerhofer.
That will need to be continued, please. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Shepherd Memorial Library Board, Councilmember Smiley.
I intend to reappoint. I nominate Chris Olfers. He has been serving in a term that was somebody else's uncompleted term, and this would be for his first full term.
Okay.
Do you need a second? This is Meyerhofer. I'll second it.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Smiley, second by Councilmember Meyerhofer. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. I'll now call on the city clerk for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Okay. Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
All right, Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
Thank you very much. Congratulations, Mr. Olfers.
Okay. And finally, we have the Youth Council, Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
I think the only one I had was Diego Lorenzo. Want him to be appointed.
Yes, ma'am. So we could continue that to November if you'd like.
Okay.
Okay. Mayor Connolly, that concludes the appointments.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll move on now to the consent agenda. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The consent agenda includes the following items: a resolution declaring a surplus and authorizing the disposition of 3 assets by electronic auction. Item number 3 is professional services contract between the City of Greenville and Kimley Horn for the design of the new community pool. Item number 4 are professional services contract between the City of Greenville and H&H Architecture for the renovation of the Ebbs Recreation Center. And item number 5 are ordinances and resolutions updating boards and commissions. That's the consent agenda, Mayor.
All right. Thank you very much. Council, are there any recommended changes or items that you'd like to pull from the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Smiley, second by Councilmember Daniels. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. I will call on the city clerk for the vote.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the old business. We'll start with item number 6. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 6 is the council consideration of an ordinance requested by the Planning and Development Services Department to amend Title IX, Chapter 4 of the City Code to create standards for agricultural master plan communities. And we have Brad Sevior, planner with Development Services, that is available to answer any questions.
All right. Before we ask any questions, Madam Clerk, were there any comments that were made in the 24-hour statutory period?
No, sir, we did not receive any comments during that period.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Sevior or the staff? Anyone would like to entertain a motion?
I'll move to approve it. It's Meyerhofer.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Was that Councilmember Smiley?
Second, Litchfield.
All right. I've got motion being made by Councilmember Meyerhofer, second by Councilmember Litchfield. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. I'll call on the city clerk for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
You're muted.
Councilmember Litchfield.
You're on mute. Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to item number 7. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 7 is an ordinance requiring the repair or the demolition and removal of the dwelling located at 1603 Chestnut Street, tax parcel 09513. Staff is available to answer any questions.
Madam Clerk, were there any comments that were made during the 24-hour statutory period?
No, sir, we did not receive any comments during that period.
Thank you very much. Any questions for staff?
Move to approve the item.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Smiley, second by Councilmember Daniels. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. I will now call on the city clerk for the vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Okay, Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item number 8. Madam Manager.
Thank you. Item number 8 is rental assistance to support small business incubation. And again, Mayor, staff is available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, were there any comments that were made during the 24-hour statutory period?
No, sir. We did not receive any comments during that period.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions for
Move
staff?
to approve the item.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Smiley, second by Councilmember Bell. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Call on the city clerk for the vote.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhopper.
Aye.
Okay. Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to item number 9, Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 9 is the naming of the city's adventure park, and staff is available to answer any questions.
All right. Madam Clerk, were there any comments that were made during the 24-hour statutory period?
No, sir. We did not receive any comments during that period.
All right. Thank you very much. Any questions for staff? Nope. No motions to approve. You got to come up with a name.
Oh, gosh.
I move to name the park Wildwood Park in accordance with the staff recommendation.
Yep. Second, Meyerhofer.
All right.
Or
So
whoever else wants the second.
All right. Motion's been made by, clearly you do. Motion's been made by Councilmember Smiley, second by Councilmember Meyerhofer, to name the city park the Wildwood Park. Is that correct? Am I right? Wildwood Park? Yes? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. We'll now call on the city clerk for the vote.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
All right. Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to new business, which is the public hearings. This is the policy of the public hearings adopted by the City Council. The petitioner or a representative of the petitioner and a leader of those in opposition will each have 10 minutes. Persons following them will have up to 3 minutes each, with a total for each side no more than 30 minutes. Additionally, I want to remind those in attendance to extend the courtesy to persons speaking during the public hearing and to the City Council during discussions. Comments made by members of the public are to occur only during the public hearing as allowed by the mayor in accordance with the adopted policy of the City Council. There should be no interruptions of speakers or council members, including expressions of support or disagreements verbally or by applause, as this is distracting and makes discussions difficult. We ask for your cooperation. Thank you. And I will now turn it over to our attorney, Emmanuel McGirt.
Thank you, Mayor Connolly. Mayor and council members, this item is entitled Multifamily Housing Revenue Bonds to Finance a Portfolio of Affordable Multifamily Housing Developments, including Glendale Court Apartments in the city of Greenville. I will make some brief introductory remarks and then turn it over to Ms. Christian Kirby, who is bond counsel for the Burlington Housing Authority, which is asking for permission to issue the bonds, and also Mr. Eric Prestel, who's general counsel for the Burlington Housing Authority. In this matter, federal tax law requires that tax-exempt bonds issued to finance multifamily residential rental facilities be approved by the elected legislative body of the governmental unit that has jurisdiction over the area in which the facilities are located. In this case, Glendale Court Apartments, I believe it has 100 units, is one of the facilities being financed with the bonds, and Glendale Court Apartments is located here in the city. The Burlington Housing Authority, at the request of a developer, proposes to issue bonds, the principal amount not to exceed $53,500,000 to finance the acquisition and rehabilitation of a portfolio of low-income multifamily residential rental facilities, including Glendale Court Apartments. The portion of the bonds to be used to finance the acquisition and rehabilitation of Glendale Court Apartments is approximately $7,750,000. Now, those are some big numbers, but please note that the resolution that's in front of you and provides that the city will have no liability whatsoever for the payment of the bonds. I've gotten an independent opinion from the city's bond counsel that there is no risk to the city in just approving these tax exempt bonds. This is just a RS provision that requires the governing body to approve it before the housing authority has permission to issue the bonds. So now at this point, before we go into the public hearing, I will turn it over to Ms. Christian Kirby, who's bond counsel.
Thank you. Ms. Kirby?
Good evening. I'm going to share my screen with you, hopefully successfully, so that you can see the PowerPoint. And okay, you should hopefully be able to see a PowerPoint now. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. My name is Kristen Kirby. As Mr. McGirt said, I'm bond counsel for the Burlington Housing Authority, and I'm with McGuire Woods in Raleigh. Mr. McGirt did a good job of giving an overview of this, so I'll just provide some additional details about the project, the plan of finance, and the action needed by the City Council. As was mentioned, the proposed bonds are going to finance a portfolio of affordable housing developments, including Glendale Court Apartments, which is located in Greenville. Glendale Court is an existing low-income housing development that was built in 1968. It's located off of Glendale Drive. There are 100 units and 23 residential buildings. Under the proposed financing, 81 of those units will be covered by a Section 8 HAP contract, which limits the amount of rent that the residents have to pay to 30% of their income. There'll also be 18 units set aside at 60% of area median income, and there's one non-revenue producing unit that serves as an office. Under the proposed plan of finance, there'll be a pretty significant rehabilitation done on this project of about $45,000 per unit. This will be a phased in-place rehabilitation so that no tenants will have to be permanently displaced and will be able to remain in the units. The bonds that we're discussing this evening are tax-exempt bonds that will be issued by the Burlington Housing Authority. The total amount of those bonds is $53,500,000. The portion being used to acquire and rehabilitate Glendale Court is $7,750,000. In this financing, the Burlington Housing Authority is serving as the issuer of the bonds, but is doing so in cooperation with the local housing authorities and each of the jurisdictions in which one of the 8 facilities is located, including the Greenville Housing Authority. And the Greenville Housing Authority adopted a resolution back in July that approved this transaction and authorized the Burlington Housing Authority to serve as the issuer of the bonds. The developer for these projects submitted its application to NCHFA earlier this year. NCHFA has approved that application and awarded volume cap for each of these 8 projects. The bonds, when they're issued, which we expect to happen by December, are going to be sold in the public market and are going to be secured by cash collateral, which results in a very secure means of financing, very high security for the bonds, and allows them to be sold with a AAA rating. Other financing for the project will come in the form of 4% low-income housing tax credits, as well as a a HUD-insured mortgage loan with respect to each of the 8 projects. As was mentioned already, the reason we're before the City Council tonight is that the Internal Revenue Code requires that before tax-exempt bonds are issued to finance multifamily housing developments, there has to be a public hearing and an approval by each elected governmental unit having jurisdiction over the area in which the facilities being financed are located. So because one of the projects being financed, Glendale Court Apartments, is located within the city, and the City Council is the elected governing body having jurisdiction over the city, that means that a public hearing and approval is required from the City Council. Just to reemphasize, these bonds will in no way be a debt of the city or a pledge of the city's faith and credit. They are limited obligations of the Burlington Housing Authority as the issuer of the bonds and are payable solely from the loan repayments to be made by the borrower to the Housing Authority. Because no taxes or other revenues of the city are pledged to pay the bonds, city staff has made no analysis of the bonds, the borrower, or the project. And these bonds do not affect the city's debt ratios or your legal debt limit in any way. And that is specified in the resolution. The benefit to the city of doing this public hearing and approval is that it does satisfy a public purpose of providing or ensuring that affordable housing is continued to be available within the city. These bonds, again, a portion of them are financing a significant rehabilitation of Glendale Courts, improving that affordable housing, and because they're being financed with tax-exempt bonds, the new owner has to agree to maintain that development as affordable housing for at least 10 years. At least 15 years. So it ensures that the apartments remain as affordable housing. The next steps will be to conduct the public hearing and then consider the resolution that is set forth in your agenda packet. And I am happy to answer any questions that you may have either now or during your consideration of the item following the public hearing, whichever is most appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions by the council?
I have a question.
All right.
What occurs after the 15-year period?
So in this instance, it'll actually be a longer period than 15 years because of the HAP contract with HUD. I believe that actually has a term of 30 years. And so at the end of that, one of two things could happen. Those units could be refinanced again, another rehabilitation if it's needed at that time, with tax-exempt bonds, in which case, once again, new restrictive covenants would be placed on the property extending that term. Or at the, once we get to the end of the current compliance period, when all the HUD financing is paid off and the restrictive covenants that'll be filed at the close of this deal burn off, it would be, of course, possible that the property could flip to being a market rate development or redeveloped in some other way.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, the public hearing is now open. Those to speak on behalf of the applicant may come forward. Please state your name for the record. The first person has 10 minutes. All others have 3 minutes.
Mayor Connolly, we do not have any registered speakers in favor of this item, and I will check our public input inbox really quick.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And we have not received any comments in favor.
All right. Thank you very much. Those in opposition to the applicant may come forward. Please state your name for the record. The first person has 10 minutes. All others have 3 minutes.
Mayor Connolly, we do not have any speakers in opposition to this item, and I've got the inbox open, and we have not received any comments in opposition.
All right. Thank you very much. The public hearing is now closed. Open for board discussion. Seeing no discussion, pursuant to Senate Bill 704, the public has 24 hours after the conclusion of the public hearing to submit written comments, and such comments shall be forwarded to the council. Please see the city's website for instructions on how to submit comments. I'd also like to note that the city council will plan on adopting a motion to recess until October 21st at 6 p.m. for a virtual meeting. Anything else, Mr. McGirt?
That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 12. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 12 is a consideration of a public art recommendation for a mural on the 4th Street parking garage, and I will turn that over to the Pitt County Arts Council Director, Holly Garriott.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. And as the city manager stated, my name is Holly Garriott. I'm the executive director of the Pitt County Arts Council, and I'm the staff liaison to the Civic Arts Committee. And so we have 3 recommendations for you tonight. The first is a mural on the city parking deck. This is on the Cotanch side. The submission process for this mural was a request for proposals that was done with an ECU School of Art and Design class, a digital painting class led by Professor Beth Blake. This actually was supposed to have been implemented back in the spring with the entire class, but was delayed due to the pandemic. We're excited to hopefully get it back up and actually painted. The artist is Helen Horia Alvier Lewis. Helen is a senior in the ECU School of Art and Design, pursuing a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Art Education. The title is Bubbles, and her project statement is, this mural shows the people in our community of different races that they are represented. When people drive or walk by the mural, they can see the 2 hands, the bright colors, and think of how we can come together and work together to create a community where we can all enjoy the simple joys of life like bubbles. The cost to the city for this mural is $0 and no in-kind services are needed. Our city liaison for information and logistics is the Department of Public Works, and our contact was Kevin Heffron. And the implementation timeline for this is fall and winter of 2020. Major stakeholders and supporters are the Pitt County Arts Council, the ECU, Greenville Pitt County Convention and Visitors Bureau, the ECU School of Art and Design, specifically Beth Blake's painting class, the Greenville Mural Group. And we have listened to the City Council's suggestions about more community engagement for public art on public property. And so we have sent out an e-newsletter with this design to 7,000 people, as well as a survey. The Civic Arts Committee's comments for this recommendation. The image bubble shows a whimsical, fun scene representing the feel of Greenville. The artistic merit is strong, and the committee feels like this is a good representation of our multicultural community. One hand is Hispanic and the other hand is Black. Logistically, we are working with the Greenville Public Works to make sure that we proceed accordingly with preparation, implementation, and maintenance of the panels in the surrounding areas of the parking deck. The Pitt County Arts Council will cover 100% of the maintenance and has a maintenance plan in place. The panels of the parking deck have been blank since the parking deck was built many years ago. It was planned that the murals would be part of the original opening of the deck. However, these white rectangles have loomed empty for years. The committee feels like this is a wonderful collaborative project with the ECU School of Art and Design and celebrates multiculturalism in an uplifting and celebratory way. And I think we all look for more town and gown type of projects, and right now with the pandemic, this is a great way to continue that collaboration. The Civic Arts Committee's recommendation is it is the recommendation of the Civic Arts Committee to approve the implementation of bubbles by Helen Horia Alvier Lewis on the Cotanch side of the parking deck. All right, and should I continue on to the next item or stop sharing my screen?
I believe you need
a question.
You got a questions? Any questions?
I do.
Smiley?
Yeah, I didn't hear. You might have mentioned this. Is this intended as a long-term or if not permanent installation?
Either one right now. We're not sure. Originally, we did speak to Beth Blake about the potential of having this rotate. Our goal is that the 4th Street side, where there are 2 panels of the parking deck, potentially next spring it might be pushed back if ECU isn't face to face. But our goal is to have the 4th Street side done in a similar way with a RFP to that painting class, and then depending on the recommendation of the Civic Arts Committee, we'll see whether it does rotate or whether this stays as a semi-permanent piece of public art.
But there's nothing about the material or the media that would prevent it from being a long-term installation.
Right. No, this will be direct paint. It's exterior grade paint made specifically for the surface. And so that all murals need somewhat maintenance to keep it up and running, but this is a high quality exterior grade paint that we would use.
Thank you. No further questions.
Any other questions for Ms. Garrett?
This is Meyerhofer. I have one just related to what Councilmember Smiley was asking about. At what point do you make the call that, hey, that it's starting to look a little rough around the edges and needs to be either spruced up or removed? When do you make the call? How do you make the call? Who makes the call?
Yeah, the Civic Arts Committee, that is part of our policies and procedures, is to be on the watch for those types of things. And because our public art program is so new, we haven't had many projects yet reach that point. But I think the rotating mural program on the side of Starlight Cafe is a great example. That material that we've used for that is only guaranteed for 3 years. And so we make sure we stay on that cycle. But the Civic Arts Committee, that's part of our job, is to deal with the maintenance and conservation of all these pieces of public art and to make sure if along the way that we do maintain that. And again, that all depending on the project, we will say which organization or entity is responsible for that maintenance.
All right. Does that answer your question, Mr. Meyerhofer?
Yeah, and one other point I want to make, it is very important that in our budgets, we work in a maintenance part of it for maintenance, and we think about that before, not when something happens, but before. So we are paying close attention to that.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Ms. Garrett?
Yes, Mayor. The West Greenville, the mural out there with the bricks, with the people painted inside, visions of people inside the bricks. they put some type of paint on it after the paint was, do graffiti on it or anything like that, that they could just wash it off. So I think that's something that probably the Arts Council needs to look into, and that helps a lot with your maintenance of the arts that you have up.
Absolutely. That's an anti-graffiti coating, and depending on the project, we will apply that. For this project, as Councilmember Smiley asked whether it was going to be permanent or temporary, because we think it may be temporary, we will be deciding whether it's best to put an anti-graffiti coating on it or whether it's better to just come and touch it up when it's needed. But absolutely, that is something we consider with each individual piece of public art.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? All right. We'll move on to item number 13, Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 13 is a public art recommendation for traffic signal boxes. Again, Ms. Garriott.
Okay, so our next recommendation is for 3 traffic signal boxes. One is at the Evans and 5th Street intersection, one is at the Cotanch and 5th Street intersection, and one is at the Cotanch Street and Reed Circle intersection. The project submission type for this was a request for proposals. This was actually a national request for proposals that went out last fall of 2019, and the artists that were selected by our artist selection panel were Didi Briscoe, Carlos Romero, and Ramiro Davaro Comas. The cost to the city is $0, and there's no in-kind services. However, it has been the recommendation by our city liaison, the engineering department. Our contact was Lisa Kirby for that. It has been the recommendation that someone from the engineering department, traffic services department, be on site for the application and implementation of these. They will be wrapped with a vehicle grade vinyl quality laminate by Fast Signs. And here you get an idea about the one on Reed and Cotanch. The implementation time frame is the fall of 2020. This is another project that was supposed to have occurred in March of 2020, but was delayed because of the pandemic. Major stakeholders of this project are Uptown Greenville, the Pitt County Arts Council, and then, as I said, Fast Signs will actually be doing the application. The artists basically submitted their design that's going to be reproduced and printed on this vinyl. There was no project statement as part of this project. The artists were selected based solely on their designs, and the designs are abstract, design-based. This will be funded entirely by Uptown Greenville. And Uptown Greenville had actually started this project a couple years ago, and now with the new process, policies and procedures, that is why it's come through the Civic Arts Committee. Community engagement we've also listed this design in our e-newsletter to 7,000 people and put a survey out. And the Civic Arts Committee's comments for this project the Civic Arts Committee and the arts panel for this project chose these 3 designs as they felt like abstract designs were the best approach to turn these functional eyesores into a beautifying project. The 3 designs were specifically chosen for the 3 locations to show the feel of each area. These 3 designs were chosen due to their artistic merit. And the maintenance for these, the vinyl is actually guaranteed for 5 years. Uptown Greenville will incur the cost for any maintenance, whether that is either replacing or removing the vinyl. And potentially this will become a rotating project as the vinyl, like I said, it's only guaranteed for 5 years. So potentially Uptown Greenville is interested in keeping this going. So I think this is a really fun idea that's been done across the nation. It is the recommendation of the Civic Arts Committee to approve the implementation of the artistic wrapping of 3 traffic signal boxes on 5th and Evans Streets, 5th and Cotant Streets, and Cotant Street in Reed Circle.
Holly, have you gotten any, what type of feedback did you get on those? I mean, do you have any concerns at all about the look of graffiti? You know, I think some of them could kind of be confused as that. I guess that's my only concern, is that they're very vibrant colors. They're going to stand out, which is, you know, I know probably what the artist was trying to look for, but my only concern was it's very, very bright, and you know, I don't want it to come across as somebody thinking that it's graffiti and that the city allowed somebody to do that on city infrastructure.
Well, I think when it's intentional and planned, it comes through like that. And if anything, what we've seen with public art, you know, specific public art, is it will actually deter more vandalism and graffiti. There's research to show that when murals or things like this will actually deter people from doing graffiti. And we've seen that a lot of these traffic boxes and light poles and things like that have graffiti put on them. But again, we see this as a way to deter that.
Right. You know, I guess I'm all for it. I think that you could spruce up the traffic boxes, because they just sit there and they deteriorate. They look kind of gross after a little while. I guess my concern is just that person that's driving through our city and they look over and they only get to go by it for 10 seconds and wonder if that was graffiti that was sprayed on the box. Is there any type of like plaque or anything like that you could put, like, this is the artist that did this next to it, so if somebody walks by it, they can see it and we can give them some type of acknowledgement that they were the artist that actually did?
Yep, absolutely. All will be labeled, and then on the Arts Council's public art website, we will have a listing of this. And I know Uptown Greenville, in collaboration with the Arts Council, would be looking to, you know, we're really, especially right now, trying to get people out and walking on trails and have these things noted, so we can have it be something that's part of our community. And again, our hope is that it will come across as an intentional piece of public art on a functional object.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I like to say that I like the art, and like she said, either we're going to put something over those electrical panels, or we're going to end up with graffiti. So I would prefer to have some art being, you know, drawn by different people, or so that they will know that it's been drawn by a citizen of the city.
And I think our goal is to show different types of art, you know, and this is actually one of them is actually a painting that would have been displayed in an exhibition or gallery space. Others could be seen more as the style of street art, but that's the beautiful thing, to show a diversity of different styles and types of art.
Okay, thank you. I agree with that.
Any other questions or comments from Ms. Garrett?
Mayor, I've got one. Holly, I remember when we were working closely with Bianca at Uptown to do some cleanups in the Uptown area. I remember like stickers on light poles and on the back of the signs, like parking signs and things of that nature, were a big issue. Do these boxes get a lot of that kind of sticker litter, or is that kind of just, mostly with light poles?
They do some, and Meredith Hawk would be the better person because I know she's out there always looking with Uptown Greenville. We've seen that a lot more with light poles. But again, what we've seen, I think, Councilmember Glover brought up about the EPS public art. Everybody was so worried about it being vandalized, and we have seen such a wonderful neighborhood response about keeping that. Again, when you have intentional work there, I mean, you're probably going to have the occasional sticker go on, but our hope is by showing this as an intentional way to display art that it will deter that. I know Meredith has been talking with Fast Signs about ways to keep that, if there is adhesive going to it, how to keep that maintained as well.
Okay, thanks.
Great question.
All right. Any other questions for Ms. Garrett? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 14. Madam Manager.
Thank you. The final item is a public art recommendation for a street mural on First Street between Cotange and Washington Street. Again, Ms. Garrett.
All right, so this recommendation is for a Black Lives Do Matter street mural that would be located on First Street between Cotange and Washington Streets. This is a community project that was submitted through an external proposal. It was vetted by the Civic Arts Committee as a project, and a subcommittee was set up to look through the logistics, the feasibility, planning community engagement, and also a review of all the artist designs. The artists involved are Randall Leach, who is our lead artist, and Randall is an art teacher at J.H. Rose High School. As I said, he's the lead artist to oversee the rest.
Sorry, Holly. Do you have a? Can you share your screen? Do you have a presentation? Or?
Oh, yep. Sorry. Thank you. Here we go. All right. Everybody see that all right? So Randall Leach is the lead.
Might actually start the presentation so it shows it gets bigger.
All right, there we go. So the artists involved, we have 18 local artists. Randall Leach, and then Kevion Gaynor, who is another one of the main artists. Paula Jordan Mayo, Natalie Monter, Aaliyah Bonnet, Corrine Kidd Graves, Raymond Henderson, Rakaya Jackson, Jacinda Atch, Steph Alexander, Asha Taylor, Louis Frederico, Maria Young, Jeremy Richardson, Cameron Johnson, Megan Ellison, Marlon Westray, and Jasmine Hemby. This will be on 2 city blocks spanning 20 feet tall and complete 300 feet long. The cost to the city is $0. In-kind services needed would be a road closure. Our estimate is 2 days, and Our city liaison, who has offered any answers to our questions, logistic questions, has been the engineering department, and Lisa Kirby has been our main contact. The implementation timeframe for this project is fall of 2020, and I want to make note that the Civic Arts Committee has said that this will be a temporary installation. There are several streets in the uptown area that are set to be repaved in the spring of 2021. So we see this as a temporary installation, and with a repaving of First Street, it will live on through documentation. This project will be funded by NC Civil and the Pitt County Arts Council. Major stakeholders and or supporters of this project are the Pitt County Arts Council, NC Civil, the Greenville Human Relations Council, the Greenville African American Cultural Trail Committee, the ECU School of Art and Design faculty, the ECU Ladonia Wright Cultural Center, the Greenville Pitt County Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Greenville Museum of Art, the Greenville Mural Group, various religious leaders, Pitt County Youth for Justice and Change, and individual teachers, students, and alumni from J.H. Rose High School. And we continue to get emails and letters of support that we will be submitting to City Council. The community engagement for this project included an e-newsletter to 7,000 people, a survey, and also NC Civil held a public community engagement Facebook and Zoom live event on October 1st. There's also a petition circulating in support of this mural, which has nearly 1,100 signatures to date. So in our, to make sure that this project is as safe and for our community as possible, and also with recommendations from city input, some modifications that we have made from the original design, and I'll just go back. The original design had it going in both lanes, over both lanes of traffic. So we have made modifications. One is, like I said, this would be a temporary project. Second, we have the committee has added due to Black Lives Matter to make it clear that this is not part of an organization. We have minimized the size of the letters of the painting, so it will only be in the westbound lane, and it will not go over or engage at all with the median. We've moved the painting and text down into the parking lanes and separated the design so it would not intersect with any medians, crosswalks, intersections, or turn lanes. And again, our goal is to make this as safe as possible and not to confuse any drivers or pedestrians. We also will be including a friction additive to the paint to make sure that it is safe when wet as well. So the project statement by the proposed artists is, this is a collaborative and community-based project that has been inspired by variations created throughout the nation in response to the public cries for racial equity. This project's goal is to bring together our community and city by providing a canvas for 18 Black artists. The location is intentional as it is adjacent to the former Black neighborhood that was raised and relocated in the 1960s by the City of Greenville's Urban Renewal Project. As far as maintenance goes, the Pitt County Arts Council and NC Civil will incur any cost to maintenance and will work with city staff to make sure that is done upon their requirements. The Civic Arts Committee's comments. As stated by the Americans for the Arts, cities gain value through public art, cultural, social, and economic value. Public art is a distinguishing part of our public history and our evolving culture. It reflects and reveals our society, adds meaning to our cities, and uniqueness to our communities. Public art humanizes the built environment and invigorates public spaces. It provides an intersection between past, present, and future, between disciplines and between ideas. The Civic Arts Committee believes that the Black Lives Do Matter street mural does just this by providing a space for 18 Black artists to let their voices be heard. The Civic Arts Committee recently realized that the city of Greenville has no public art on public property by Black artists. The committee sees this as not a political statement being made by either the Arts Council or the city. It is allowing a part of our community who has had no representation in public art be able to express their views to our community. Not everyone has to like or agree with public art. The goal is to create conversation and be a vehicle for communication. This project offers incredible and impactful community engagement and the opportunity for our community to have a dialogue about the past, present, and future. The artistic merit of this design is impressive, and the breadth of participation by Black artists, both from experienced as well as student artists, is pretty remarkable. The committee also recognizes that there is a large amount of community support from organizations, community groups, and citizens to move this project forward. The subcommittee, with the blessing of the original proposal group, decided to modify the statement Black Lives Matter to Black Lives Do Matter to make it clear that this was not a political statement supporting any organization. Extensive virtual community involvement has occurred, including a Facebook community conversation on October 1st, various newspaper articles, public design unveiling on the Arts Council and NC Civil's websites, a survey, various letters of support, and a community-wide petition. With this, it is the recommendation of the Civic Arts Committee to approve the implementation of the Black Lives Do Matter street mural by 18 local Black artists on First Street between Cotanch and Washington Streets.
Done. Any questions for Ms. Garriott?
I have a question of either Holly or any staff member that maybe can answer this. Is the presentation notes that it is a temporary installation and that there are existing intentions before this project was proposed to repave the street that it's being painted on. Can anybody expound on that? When was this? Is this part of a budget for a while? Is this already under contract? Is there what is the current status of our intentions to repave that street?
Mayor, would you like me to answer that question?
Yes.
Yes, Councilmember Smiley, it was, sorry, of course it always happens when it was the intention, it is the city's plan to repave that section of First Street. A portion of First Street was previously paved, but that two-block section was not repaved, and we have had it on our list of sections to be repaved. It is not under bid, although it's not under contract, although we do expect that within the first couple weeks of November, we will initiate the bid for the 2021 resurfacing contract, and this is a priority on that 2021 resurfacing list. We would anticipate that the council would award that contract in January, and the repaving would begin shortly thereafter. I see Ms. Kirby has joined the call. I don't know if she wants to add anything to that.
No, I think that what Ms. Wall has shared is accurate. We would be looking to begin the paving contract after March 15th, which is the deadline as far as weather goes for asphalt. So, but we'd be looking for a council to award it in January.
Thanks for that. And again, Ms. Gary, I just want to make sure that the artists understand this. I mean, I don't want, it's always, it can be a little insulting for, yes, you may paint on this and we're immediately going to, hide it away. But and as I understand it, this piece of street, the paving on this street has been a priority, for some time, well before this proposal was, this mural was proposed. And so I just want to make sure that, nobody, that none of the artists, that the artists understand it's a temporary canvas going in, right?
Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing about art. Process sometimes is just as important as the product. And again, these types of projects nationally, if you've seen a similar one done in Asheville, from the beginning, it was publicly noted that it would be temporary. And that's very important for us to let everybody involved as well as the public know that this is intentionally temporary. And, again, we will do extensive documentation of the project to have that continue to live on.
I don't have a question, but I do have a question. So we're asking these artists, these students who are kids, to come and do the mural, but in March 21, it's going to be paved over. So, I mean, that's not even 3 months. That the thing only be there for like 3 months. So I think it's just, I don't know. I have a really bad feeling about that because I really would hate for the artists to come and spend their time to do this. And we're talking about high school students and ECU people, and we're having local artists join with us as well. And it's only going to be there for a little while. So I have some problems with that. I realized that the street paving was already set to be paved, but I don't understand why it can't be painted over again. So that's my problem, because it's just something that's temporary and doesn't really offer anything to say the Black community. Because I mean, if you're just going to put it up there till August the 21, then why do it? Because I think that they put that time into it. This is how they feel. And this is an expression of the people who are doing the mural, which are high school students. So, yes, the artists, I hope, know that they were told that it would only be until the street was paved. Now, when I first started hearing it, it says maybe the street will be 3 years. But now we're talking about 2021. So that really bothers me, and it puts a bad taste in my mouth that we would do a mural and then turn around and paint over it and waste all that precious time for the students to do the mural and then turn around and come and pave over it. I just feel that if it is paved over, it should be done again. Or to me, at this point, why are we doing this when we know it's going to only be there March? It's going to be there. We're in October now. October, November, December, January, February, March. That's only 6 months. So I really have a problem with that we will have these students come and do this art and be proud of what they've done, and then the street is paved over and they're not allowed to redo it. I really have some bad thoughts about that, and a bad taste in my mouth about it as well. But I won't let my mouth taste be known what it is today. It really, really upsets me. It really does. Because, I have been fighting forever to get Black recognition in the city. And we're going to have students and artists come and pay something, and we're just going to get rid of it in 6 months. I really don't like that. That is a problem with me.
And the Civic Arts Committee, of course, would love for it to be repainted. However, at this point, this is our proposal, and believe it or not, artists understand that the communication and conversation involved with the process is the most important part of creating. And again, this is just the first step in hopefully more future conversations through public art that we will be having on building a more inclusive community. But really valid points, Councilmember Glover.
I just want to say this, that I think people have got it wrong, because Ms. Council and I, we went to a meeting in D.C., and the talk was about inclusive communities. So each city was asked if they could do something in community in that. So you had to apply from the National League of Cities to get that done. But this city has not been named a city that is inclusive. Okay, it's the sign says we're working towards inclusive, but it's never been awarded an inclusive city by the National League of Cities, because we're still working into it, and that's been 10, 15 years ago. So when does this stop? When do we do better in our city to show that, yes, Black lives do matter, or either just show that the beauty of the art from our students? That's what really bothers me, is to have them do something and it's painted over in 6 months, never to be thought about again. I have a problem with that.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Smiley?
Yeah, that was sort of the point of my question is, this is not an initiative that council has commissioned from anyone. These artists have come up with this idea that they are presenting to us, and they have chosen the mural they want to paint, and they have chosen the place they want to paint it. I wouldn't want them to be surprised by the temporary nature of the canvas, but they seem to understand that, and perhaps that may be even an artistic choice they've made. So I don't know, the concerns that Mayor Pro Tem has. This is what they proposed to us. We haven't directed that they propose it in any particular way. They are proposed to paint this mural in this place, knowing that this place is is temporary. So, this council hasn't commissioned this from this group. This is something they've come up with on their own, and they're proposing to us.
I agree with you, Mr. Smiley, but still, I don't think it would improve racial relationships in this city. I'm speaking to you as a black person of 70 years. I've been black. I'm never going to change. I'm going to be here forever until God calls me home. But, you know, I realize the students know this, but when we talked about it, I remember that they said that the street was going to be paved, but I didn't get a date as to when this street was going to be paved. And I know that the artists are not trying to cause controversial or anything like that. But I really am, it really hurts my feelings for people, whether or not they knew that or not, just to paint something temporarily. I know they want to show their skills and all of that, but I still feel like we could do better.
If I may, if they know going in, this may be one of those once-in-a-lifetime projects that those youth and the artists come together and do. As Holly stated earlier, we know it's temporary going in, but what comes from that and the pride that will come from those students and their teachers and all of the artists coming together, that can never be replaced. There are a lot of things that are temporary, but the experience that comes with that will last them a lifetime.
And again, just to reiterate, this is the art they want to make. You know, I don't know that we evanescence is often an aspect of art. It's, the fact that something is temporary or fleeting is often used in art to make it more special, right? Because it's something, it's something that may not last. But again, this is the art they want to make. I don't know that, it's our job to approve where these things go, but I don't think we should be we shouldn't be in the business of telling artists to change the art they want to make. If the art they want to make is temporary, and that's what they want it to be, and they have chosen a place that they know is temporary, then who are we to make a different artistic decision for them? They have come to us and made a proposal. We want to make this art in this place. I certainly understand why we might say, hey, that place is not available, or we might say yes. But I think it's hubris for us to go forward and say, yeah, we don't like that art. We want you to make different art, and so change something about it. That's not our job. The artist's job is to decide what art they want to make. It's just our job to say whether or not we're ready for them to make it in that spot or not. Anyway, that's my perspective on this.
I think you misunderstood me, Councilmember Smiley. I didn't say that we're not proud of the students, and I do realize that this is the art that they want to paint. I realize that. And what I say is not going to make any difference because the city council has the opportunity to vote and up and down, whichever they want to do. So, and I realize that it is something gratifying to the students to show their artistic abilities to the city of Greenville, what they're being taught at J.H. Rose, ECU, or wherever. But it's just me that have this feeling, and I have the opportunity to say how I feel when we are in a meeting. And this is what I'm saying. Not that I'm not going to be proud of them, not that I'm trying to tell them what to do, but I'm just a little disappointed. That's how I feel. So I'm just one person, but I have to express how I feel about it so that the kids will know also that going into this, that, I'm disappointed with it. And not with the students, but with, having it on the having it on for like 6 months. I mean, what city has done this? None. Absolutely none.
And again, Asheville is one model that has done it. And I want to reiterate that the Civic Arts Committee, in an ideal world, we would definitely want to keep it as permanent as possible, long-lasting as possible. But with the repaving and the safety standards that were submitted to us for long-term painting in the street, like I said, we've made many modifications from the original design and will continue to work with the city to make more modifications to make this the safest for our community. With those modifications, and hope that our recommendation will be approved.
Councilmember Bell, did you have a comment that you want to make?
I had a question. Holly, did I hear you accurately when you said this would be the first African American art commissioned in the city?
Yes, public art on public property.
Okay, the Arts Council has been around for 11 years, correct?
The Arts Council the Civic Arts Committee has been in existence since 2012.
Okay, why do you think it's taken so long to get a project such as this pushed through?
I think that's a great question. I think it speaks to what is happening right now. All our eyes are being open to part of our community that has not been represented and has not been listened to. And that's the beauty of art, is that we can give a space for an underrepresented artist to have a positive way to express their feelings. The Arts Council is just one of many institutions, and who has been faced with this realization that we are not including all of our community. And so you're exactly right. And as the civic arts facilitator for the city of Greenville, that's our job, is to bring that to the acknowledgement of you that we need to make this change. So this is what's happening for all of us, to put a mirror up to say, we need to do a better job. We need to do a better job including different types of people who have different voices, different conversations that might not be comfortable, that we might not agree with. And again, that's the most important thing about public art. So we have realized that, and I think it is the perfect time to show the true nature of public art, which is the fact that the Arts Council, the City Council, staff members don't have to, community members don't have to say, by having this art on public property, I agree with that statement. I agree with that design. I like that design. Tell you, from an arts administrator, the worst thing you can hear is, I don't like that design. I do like that design. Because in public art, it doesn't matter. It is about giving a space and a voice for that artist to express their views, their concerns. And that is what our community hopefully will be about, is listening. Again, we don't have to agree with it, but we need to see that all of us in different organizations have not listened, have not, even if we don't agree with it, have not given the space. And in art, that is giving the space to an artist to have their viewpoint. So thank you, Councilman Bell, for asking that question, because it's time for us to make that make that change.
Yeah, I guess what I'm asking is, I personally have been up here for 3 years, and we have to listen to every single presentation that comes in front of us. Why has there not been one until now? Why is it, we would have listened to a presentation and probably gladly moved one forward. Why have we not been presented one before?
We were never required to bring public art projects for the approval to the city council. And so in 14 years, we haven't had that opportunity to do that. Again, we have had multicultural artists, but the Arts Council has done many projects with Black artists. It just hasn't been on public property.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Councilmember Daniels.
The initial slide, the dynamics that you showed, the 300 feet, the first design that you showed, did that change with the second design that you showed us?
Those dimensions are the new modified design. Okay. And again, we really listened to safety concerns to be able to space it so it wasn't in intersections, it wasn't in crosswalks, it wasn't in left turn lanes, and it would not be intersecting the median at all. So we have reduced the size and spaced it out.
And it still remains at 2 days, you were saying?
Right now, that will be, our goal is the maximum except for rain. We will not be having city services helping us with the layout. And so we will be hiring most likely artists to lay out the letters. And the original design had outlines first that would be done. Now our process will be chalking the outlines, not with the paint, and so that will reduce the time down considerably because we won't be doing it twice. Basically, it'll just be chalking the outlines, and then the artist will paint to that chalk line.
Thank you.
And these artists, talking about their dedication to this, they may be out there 12 hours painting these letters. And they have come full force saying that they're dedicated to doing that. And the reason is because we want to minimize the amount of time for street closures. This is something that, again, we are willing to make many modifications, and the artists are willing to go out of their way to listen to concerns about street closures and safety and do whatever we can to collaborate with the city.
I'd kind of piggyback off Mayor Pro Tem's statement too. I mean, I think of an analogy. I think that the best analogy that I would come up with, it's almost like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. It seems like this has gone on for many, many years where we haven't had anybody participate in public art. And I feel like this is just a quick push to go ahead and do something instead of really coming up with something that would be a little bit more lasting, that would help highlight those artists that want to take place or take part in a different project or in a project in our city. And, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor Pro Tem Glover, but that's kind of the impression that I got too, that, it doesn't really do it justice by doing something for a short period of time.
Well, if you're saying that Black Lives Matter in our city, then, why would we, which I understand Holly's position. And believe me, I've gotten some nasty calls, nasty emails all day today, and of people who are against it, which don't. Well, maybe after they hear it's going to be there for 6 months, they'll be okay. But it's just we have a world-renowned artist in this city, African American. I follow him, Richard Wilson, and he is a very, very, very talented person, and people all over the world. Beyonce has his pictures, her mother, all types of people. And he goes to a lot of fairs and win a lot of ribbons and everything. But he's a black artist, and we don't even know anything about him. We haven't really reached out to him to ask him to even do any art in the city of Greenville. And I do know that he did ask about the parking deck, and our previous city manager never got back with him. So, I mean, there are many black artists in this city who are world-renowned artists. I know one, and that's Richard. So it's I don't mind. I'm just gonna let the majority figure it out. I mean, I know that we've had meetings on it and we've talked about it, and so I guess I don't want them to even miss the chance of having the 6 months, or miss the chance of ever being commissioned to do something else in Greenville that bring lives together, not separate us, but bring people together. And so that's how I feel about it, and it's not that I'm going to not vote to approve it, but I'm just speaking my opinion. So I have opinion.
And Mayor, may I answer, Mayor? Mm-hmm. Comment to that? You say it's just a Band-Aid for a gaping wound, but, we've got to start with a Band-Aid. And then there's a lot of work that has to come after that. And as Councilmember Glover said, is that this is a chance of a lifetime for these black artists. It is a time for them to feel like they have a voice. And 18 of them, that's pretty remarkable. I mean, any public art project where you have 18 collaborating artists, we could do other things and it wouldn't have that kind of impact. And so in the world of art, like I said, no public art is truly permanent. And the documentation process of this is very important. We have ECU students from the film department who will be filming it. We have ECU students from the photography department who are going to be documenting it through photography. And, we want to make sure, again, that this specific project, this is very specific to these 18 artists. And we could do many things, different things. We could do something on private property. We could do a mural on a side of private property. But this is the city's opportunity to, again, say, not necessarily you believe in this, in the content, but you are giving an opportunity for an underrepresented or a community with no representation in public art to have that opportunity. And yes, it is temporary, but artists are the most disciplined people I know, and they understand that, again, it's not always in the finite product. It is truly the process, and the end goal of art is starting a conversation. And this is a peaceful conversation.
Have you gotten any negative feedback on this project? I personally have gotten zero negative feedback in the time that this agenda item was released. And with the survey, we have had some comments that say that they do not believe in the Black Lives Matter movement, or that as far as taking a stance politically. We have received, like I said, over or nearly 1,100 signatures on the petition that NC Civil
and very many positive comments on that survey. The Arts Council will continue to observe the survey responses, and we really encourage people to participate in that survey. They can go to our website, pittcountyarts.org, to view all of these public art projects, and we want to hear your input. Again, public art, just want to reiterate, is you don't necessarily have to believe with what it's saying. You're giving the space for someone to have their freedom of speech.
So just for the record, you've had zero negative.
To me personally, the survey, we have had some. We are still accepting survey responses, and I can get you that breakdown, Mayor.
Who do you survey? Do you survey at large people that are involved?
This was a public survey we just released via email.
How is it being distributed?
That was our email to 7,000 people, and then it's been shared on social media platforms. And again, anybody is able to go to pittcountyarts.org, to the public art link, and give us their response.
Okay. The only reason I ask that is, even since we've had this discussion, I've gotten multiple emails, negative emails about the project.
Well,
so I was just kind of shocked that you haven't received anything.
No, I mean, they might not know my phone number, but now they will. I'm not as popular as you, Mayor.
You might be.
I will now.
For the moment.
That's fine, and again, that is what art is about. It is truly community engagement. So we welcome any comments at all.
I just, Mayor, the reason I say that is you made a mention that this is, art is peaceful. And, as the mayor of the city, I want to have peace in our city. And my one concern, too, is this truly peaceful? If I'm getting lots of messages and people are very upset about it, and I, on the flip side of that, I've had many messages where people have been very excited about this, too. So I will mention that, too. My only hesitation is this unity? Is this what the overall community is? And I think one of the most important things about having these types of presentations is that people in the community learn about what is being proposed for art or any other type of project that takes place. It creates transparency for our city. And it's important for them to have citizens engagement, which I think has always been important, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are paying for the infrastructure in our city, and they should be able to have their voices heard as well. So that's the only reason I asked you. When you brought up peaceful, I wanted to make sure that you understand that there are other people that are not really happy with this project right now as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and my hope is they will be peaceful, because these artists and their families, as Councilmember Glover noted, we will have high school students out there. My kids are going to be out there. This is a family-friendly, peaceful painting of four words. It has nothing to do with that, with an organization, but 4 words conveying how so many of our community truly feels. And if somebody's not peaceful, that's not a reflection of these artists. It's not a reflection of public art. Any other kind of public art that that someone would have a problem with, we would hope that they could do that through their words and express that through a conversation. And so these artists and this project is peaceful. It is. And it is about 18 Black people who are artists sharing their talent. And, artists are peaceful people. We're the peacemakers. And we hope that this project will do that.
Mayor?
Councilmember Litchfield?
City Manager Wall?
Yes, sir.
How long has the city been funding the Arts Council?
Councilmember Litchfield, I can tell you in my 3 years we have funded it. I would have to go back and do some history on the length of time that we have funded the Arts Council. I'd have to go do a little. I'm sorry, I do not know.
Holly, do you know the answer to that question?
I believe the last 6 years we've had a contract for services with the city to act as the civic art facilitator as well as do community-wide projects. We've served as the civic art facilitator only on certain projects since 2006, I believe.
And how many total public art projects have we had in Greenville since you have been leading it, or that you would know the total combined that we've had?
The Civic Arts Committee and the Arts Council has overseen nearly 50 art projects in the city of Greenville in the last 14 years.
I just kind of follow up on Rose Glover, Mayor Pro Tem Glover's comments about the lack of African American art in our community. We've had 50 projects and 0 African American artists. That's utter failure, in my opinion. And moving forward, I think that if the city is going to help fund the Arts Council for contract services, perhaps we should have some sort of a mandate that a percentage of the art that goes up in our community is from African American artists.
I just want to make a quick note. Out of those almost 50 art projects, we have had several Black artists participate in those. That's not saying it's public art projects on public property. And I would have to go back to see exactly how many public art projects on public property have occurred, but out of those, we've had no Black artists. But you're exactly right. We would, and actually the Arts Council has made specific changes, actually working on exhibitions and art projects specifically for including multicultural artists. If you've noticed, the Black Voices Matter window exhibition in our center city right now, we have the work of 10 Black artists in over 13 locations. And so the Arts Council has made definite strides. And I would definitely support that, Councilmember Litchfield, that this will be moving forward, something that the city of Greenville should help support with our future public art projects.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments by the council? Mayor Pro Tem Glover, I see you leaning up, smiling.
No, I'm going to say that there is a gaping hole in Greenville as far as race relations. I've been dealing with it since 1995, and but I don't want to put a damper on this Black Lives Matters, since the students and the artists are all ready to do this, and I think that we need to go ahead and do it. But from some of the emails that I got today is that, and I don't really know if they were all Greenville citizens, but we need some work done in this city. We need to move. We need to work towards an inclusive community, which we have not done. We need to make this happen. As a council, we need to make this happen and get designated as a community working towards we want to be certified as a community working towards systemic racism and all the things that are happening in our city. They don't look good, and so that puts a damper on everything, even the manager, the people who work with the city, and all of that. So we need to have a conversation. The government needs to have a conversation as to how we're going to deal with these things, because there is systemic racism in Greenville, and it'll always be systemic racism, regardless of where you go. If you leave and go all the way across the world to Alaska, you'll still see the same thing. With less African American people being in Alaska, you will still see the same systemic racism against the Eskimos who've been there forever. So it's a lot of there's a lot of things we could do. We should show our unity that we have in our community and be willing to sit down and talk with community leaders, and not only community leaders, but to sit down and talk with the community people, the school teachers, the attorneys, and all those people that have African American people that have worked and contribute to our society. All of us have contributed, so I think everyone should have a voice. And I hope that, we can do this. We have to do it. I'm not going to say anything else. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Glover. Anyone else have any other comments?
Mayor and Council, Emmanuel McGirt, City Attorney, based on the Council's motion adopted at its October 5th, 2020 meeting, that pending art projects be reviewed by Council at its last meeting in October, which you've done tonight, and that Council take action at its first meeting in November of 2020. I recommend that Council continue these items 12 through 14, to November 9th, 2020 for action.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion been made by Councilmember Smiley, second by Mayor Pro Tem Glover. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. I'll call on the city clerk for the vote. We unmute.
Okay, there we go. All right, Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Okay, Mayor, that's 6-0 in approval.
All right. Thank you very much. That will be our last item for the night. I'll call on the city manager for the city manager's report.
Mayor, I just had one item. I hope the council and the community will join me in expressing sympathy to the family of Wayne Eubanks. Wayne was a building inspector for an electrical inspector for the city, and he recently passed away. And so I hope that you will join me as we express our deepest sympathy and condolences to his family.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
All right. Move on to comments from the mayor and the city council. Start with Councilmember Meyerhofer.
I'm all set, Mayor. Thanks so much.
You. Councilmember Litchfield.
No comment. Thank you.
Councilmember Smiley.
I did want to call attention to this month, the Shepherd Memorial Library, which is the library of Pitt County, is 90 years old. This is the 90th anniversary of it beginning services to our community, and that's pretty extraordinary. So congratulations to Shepherd Library and to all the good people who work there, and to all the members of the community that have supported that institution over all the years. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Move on to Councilmember Bell.
No comment.
All right. Councilmember Daniels.
Just want to encourage everyone to get out and vote. It's very important, and also give my deepest sympathy to Mr. Eubanks' family. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Daniels. Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
I'm coming. I'm here. I don't have any more comments, Mayor. I just want to say to people, get out and vote, exercise your right, because this is a right given to you, and exercise your right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, which leaves me. First and foremost, I'd like to echo the comments by our city manager for the Eubanks family. Keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Also echo the comments by Councilmember Smiley about Shepherd Memorial Library. It's been a great asset in our community. Very thankful for all that they've done, and thankful for Greg Needham, who is the director over there, that does an incredible job. I've always impressed every single time that I talk to him about what they do over there, and they continue to expand all their programs and continue to get people engaged and show children the importance of reading on a regular basis. So thank you for that. And also echo the comments of Councilmember Daniels. Make sure everybody gets out and votes. It is extremely important to vote. Election day is November 3rd. So make sure you get out between now and then. There's plenty of locations that are available throughout Greenville to be able to go vote. I think this today that they said that 1.6 million people in North Carolina have voted already in the election, which is unbelievable. But we still have a lot more people to vote. So make sure you get out there and show your support for your candidates that you want to see in office. And I believe, and everybody have a safe Halloween. You know, of course, this Halloween is going to be a little bit different than other Halloweens. We want to make sure that you go out and celebrate the holiday, and make sure you keep not only your family, but those that might be also participating in Halloween safe this year. So please, everybody have a safe Halloween during the pandemic. And that's it. I got a motion. Has anybody got a motion to recess?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Mayor and
Motion
Council,
to recess. Okay. We're going to
recess until October 21st.
October 21st at 6 p.m. Who's going to make that motion?
Point of order. Would we be able to make appointments to boards and commissions at that recess meeting if somebody got one together?
I don't have a problem with that. Mr. McGirt?
Yes, I think that would be in order if council wanted to add that to the agenda. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
You can feel free to amend my motion. So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right. Motion's been made by Councilmember Bell, second by Councilmember Daniels. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. I will now call on the city clerk.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Glover.
Aye.
Councilmember Daniels.
Aye.
Councilmember Bell.
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley.
Aye.
Councilmember Litchfield.
Aye.
Councilmember Meyerhofer.
Aye.
Mayor, that's 6-0 on approval.
All right. Thank you very much. We are officially recessed. I will see every one of you on October 21st at 6 p.m.